This story right here is going to have remnants of other stories that I've talked about on my channel before, maybe even stories I haven't talked about on my channel that actually did make the news. And a couple of stories actually come to mind when talking about this story, but as you will pretty much figure out, the outcome was very different. So the name of this man in this picture you see, his name is Bryan Longs, and by the way, this story is coming out of Florida. And this guy was arrested because a woman had called the cops on him because in the early hours in the morning, I'm talking about almost 5 in the morning, she was waking up out of her sleep because it was loud music playing outside. And she just basically decided to call the cops. And when they came and approached the guy, he was in his car with loud music playing, and I believe I don't know if he was asleep or not, but he had a firearm sitting right there on him, and he was arrested. Now, I'm sure there's more details in there, but the reason why I said that there are similarities between this and other cases, but the outcome was different, is because he was arrested and taken unalive, whereas others, unfortunately, were killed right there with a hail of bullets. Like I said, a couple of stories come to mind, especially it was one, I believe, in California where it was a black guy in the parking lot of a Wendy's, and one of the employees had called the cops because they said it was just someone just sitting in the parking lot and they didn't know why they were there, and the cops pulled up on him and they shot and killed him, almost like Bonnie and Clyde style. But this guy, of course, was taken in alive, and he had, like I said, had a gun on him. And remember, they killed Amir Locke. They came in the apartment and they killed him, and when they came from up under the comforter he was sleeping with on the couch, he was killed instantly. So again, us versus them. Let's get into it. A strange car playing loud music woke a woman up starting at 4:45 a.m. on a Saturday morning, and her problem was solved with an arrest. The suspect, on the other hand, faces a lot of drug charges and seemed to feel bad after asking for a lawyer at the wrong time. His trouble started when the woman called the Palm Beach County Sheriff's Office to hear her home in Lake Worth Beach on April 9th, and deputies looked around, but the car was gone. However, less than an hour later, the woman called again. After that, white Chrysler 300 returned to her backyard with loud music blaring again. And this time, the first deputy at the scene saw Bryan Longs, age 33, sleeping in the driver's seat. In Long's hand was a black and tan handgun, according to the arrest report. Additional backup deputies arrived and gave Long verbal commands to exit the vehicle. Long complied and was immediately taken into custody without incident. Now listen to that. They said that they gave him verbal commands. When it came to the other stories that I was talking about that involved the black victims in this case, their verbal commands sounded very different. They sounded way more aggressive, and they didn't have enough time to really respond. Meanwhile, this guy got verbal commands while he was in the car for blaring music at that early in the morning, then coming back to do it again and sleeping in this woman's backyard in his car with the gun on him that you could visibly see. See, this is exactly why a lot of these cops get popped by people that look like them, because they give them way too much leeway. Keep in mind, I just did a video age restricted, so sorry if y'all couldn't watch it, but I was going to age restrict it anyway, but YouTube age restricted before I could get a chance to do so. Where you had a PC civilian and a PC cop literally fighting in the middle of the street. And it took him all of a good 30 seconds to get him down. And it took his partner to come and help him to get him down because he wasn't able to do it himself. But if it was us, there would have been no fighting. There just would have been shooting. And it would have been a very one-sided shot. Unless the black person was quick on their feet. Well, quick with their fingers, I should say. Long complied and was immediately taken into custody without incident. They checked him for any other weapons or ammunition and put him into a patrol car. It turned out, according to the arrest report, the handgun that was originally in Long's lap had been concealed underneath the front driver's seat just prior to Long exiting the vehicle. Once Long was detained, the handgun was retrieved from the vehicle and was identified as a Taurus G2C 9mm serial number. Oh, they don't have the serial number there. They just put serial number. Deputies wrote they found a lot of other things in the car as well, which get more serious as the deputy wrote. A clear plastic bag containing a large quantity of blue pills, in front of the driver's side door handle. The blue pills were circular with K9 marked on one side and identified as oxycodone hydrochloride, a Schedule II substance. On the rear floorboard directly behind the driver's seat was a black backpack, a deputy wrote. As soon as I opened the backpack, the strong odor of marijuana emanated from therein. A large plastic bag containing a leafy green substance I recognized through my training and experience to be marijuana. Next to the bag was a small white box containing one vape cannabis cartridge. I opened the cartridge and tested the liquid inside with a Duquesne reagent test kit, yielding a positive result for the presence of THC. The larger compartment of the backpack was divided into two parts, the main compartment and then an additional smaller pocket that was velcroed shut. Inside the main compartment of the backpack was various plastic packages containing 7 clear plastic oval-shaped containers. Inside of each oval-shaped container was more suspected marijuana. It sounds like to me this guy had a whole drugstore inside of his car, because it seems like the more they dig, the more stuff they find, to the point where it's almost like you forget that a gun was present. This guy had a whole stash of narcotics in his car. There was also multiple boxes of disposable vape pens, sealed green plastic bags of suspected marijuana, and another large black and clear plastic bag of suspected marijuana. Inside the Velcro pocket was a third large plastic bag of suspected marijuana, as well as a box of sandwich baggies. I opened one of the plastic cartridges of the disposable vape pens and field tested the liquid inside of it with a Duquesne reagent test kit, yielding a positive result of THC. The 3 bags of suspected marijuana were combined into one large plastic bag. I field tested the substance using a Duquesne reagent testing kit and yielded a positive result for the presence of THC. The bag weighed 184 grams. I opened one of the oval-shaped containers and also tested the field tested the green leafy substance inside with that same testing kit, and it came back that it had THC. One container contained 4 grams of marijuana, yielding a total weight of 28 grams among all 7 containers. In the sunglass compartment of the vehicle, I located a small blue plastic bag and a small clear plastic bag. The blue plastic bag contained a white powder that, through my training and experience, I suspected to be cocaine. Field tested the substance with a Marquise kit, yielding negative results for the presence of heroin. I also field tested the substance with a cobalt kit, yielding positive results for the presence of cocaine. Inside the clear bag was multiple white rectangular shaped pills with GG249 inscribed on one side. The pills were identified via drugs.com as Aprazolam, or Xanax bars, as they are more commonly referred to. Deputies also found 2 cell phones. Plus, they conducted a background check on Long, which revealed he is a 3-time convicted felon. Long has also been on Florida's inmate release status since August 14, 2012. Authorities took Long to the District 14 substation and read his Miranda rights verbatim from a PBSO issued Miranda card, and I began to ask him why he was at the house he was arrested at. Long stated that he was making sure his friend got home okay. I asked what that meant, and he stated that he had met his friend at the bar and was following him home to make sure he got inside okay. I asked him how his friend got home. Long went on to state, Long stated, "I don't have anything else to say. I want a lawyer." That turned out to be a big mistake on his part. I responded with, "I was only trying to get you to help yourself, but I understand." I concluded my line of questioning and was about to close the door when Long stated, "I don't know why I'm being arrested, just because I was in her backyard." I informed Long that he was not going to jail because of that, but he was being arrested because he is a convicted felon that was in possession of a firearm, but that because he asked for a lawyer, I can no longer ask him any questions about it. Long's eyes opened wide, as if initially shocked, and then he hung his head low and stated, you're right, and then ended our conversation and closed the door. Finally, I did attempt to confirm with Long whether or not he had a medical marijuana card. However, he refused to answer and just kept repeating lawyer. After all of that, Long faces 8 criminal charges: being a convicted felon in possession of a firearm, being a convicted felon in possession of ammunition, sale of marijuana with 1,000 feet of a worship place, actually 2 worship places, trafficking in oxycodone, possession of a Schedule IV substance, possession of a firearm during the commission of a felony, which was a narcotic possession and trafficking, possession of crack cocaine, and possession of hashish oil. Long was booked into late Saturday morning and released in lieu of a $44,000 bond early Sunday evening. There was nothing about a friend in the area mentioned in the rest of the arrest report. Yeah, I believe the friend was most likely a cover. I don't believe that there was a friend that he... How do you just meet a friend at the bar and then you're just making sure that they get home? That to me sounds like and at that time that sounded like it was a quickie with this so-called friend, but they said there was no friend in the arrest report, which means he most likely just made it up, and that was what he tried to come up with. But he did shoot himself in the foot with that asking for a lawyer part. He should have just let them just continue to question him. It probably would have went a little bit easy on him, but he asked for a lawyer. See, he's been in this position before. It's obvious. They said he has a criminal record that dates back to 2012 when he was in jail at one point, probably for the same thing. But look at how they dealt with him versus black men who are in their cars, maybe sleep, and they're not even blasting music, in their car, sleep at that time. And speaking of blasting music, that reminds me of Jordan Davis back in 2012. You know, the 17-year-old black boy down in Florida who was killed by Michael Dunn because they were blasting music at a gas station, and he got annoyed, so he grabbed his gun and started shooting into the vehicle with Jordan Davis and his friends. And Jordan Davis was the one that unfortunately got killed in that situation. And right now, as many of you probably know or may not know, Michael Dunn is currently serving a life sentence because of that. That's one of the few times where justice was served. But I think they probably did that because Trayvon Martin happened in the beginning of the year, and they wasn't trying to have back-to-back situations where the turnout was the way that it was. Because initially they wasn't going to send Michael Dunn to jail for the murder of Jordan Davis, but his family fought and they ended up getting him back in court, and then they found him guilty of the murder charges, and that's why he's in jail now. Because at first they were only going to get him for the attempted murder of his friends and not the murder of him, which was silly. But you know how it goes. 2012, 2022, 10 years later, it really hasn't changed. But yes, this is another example of us versus them in America. And the ones, you know, it's crazy. The black people that they killed in their cars or in situations like that where they were killed inside their homes probably didn't even have a record. This guy has a rap sheet, and all the stuff that's in, you heard all the stuff that was found in his car. Like I said, it's like he had a whole pharmacy in his car. That's why I said it's almost like you didn't even have to mention the gun, that he had, because that almost took a back seat to everything else that they found in his car. So I wouldn't be surprised if this guy was most likely dealing. He was probably dealing drugs. He had to have been, because I highly doubt all of that stuff that they found was there that was just for his consumption. He would have blew himself up if he was trying to take all those drugs. But then again, you have people out there who do get high off their own supply. But that's pretty much my take on it.